Hey guys, welcome to That Florida Feeling. How y'all this week? I hope everybody's good. I know it's been kind of a rainy week up in the Panhandle. Hopefully nobody's dealing with too much flooding. Thank you guys for interacting with the social media pages as always. I love the memes. I'm glad that you guys participated on the poll on Facebook this week. I didn't do one I did one on Instagram, not Facebook. Sorry. Facebook was being weird, so I don't know. Maybe I'll post one tomorrow. But thank you. I always love to see y'all's vacation plans around Florida. Gives me an idea of where I might want to go this year as well. Y'all got some good ones. The staycation, whoever had it on 30A, I am kind of jealous. I love it. But people going to Venice, St. Augustine, Siesta Key, Key West, all awesome places in Florida. I think y'all are all going to have some great vacations. Again, thank you for making the podcast successful, for the reviews, for the comments, just for the interactions in general. I love meeting you guys and just thank you. Still didn't think that this was going to hit this many years and this many plays, and so it's still overwhelming. I really appreciate it. So as we know, Florida is home to many things, many things. Theme parks, beaches, gators, Florida Man, some amazing cities, but it's also home to a few inventions that we don't realize. That's right. We have Florida to thank for some things that we use every day. And some of these I do use every day. Not even going to lie to you guys. If I sound a bit weird right now, I apologize. I had some dental work done, so bear with me. I do apologize if I slur and or sound a bit mumbled. So the first thing we're going to thank Florida for should not really come as a surprise. Sunscreen. That's right, we are the Sunshine State, and it's not surprising that someone who spent time in this state would find a way to stop themselves from getting sunburned. And honestly, the need for sunscreen really came around in World War II when people were stationed all over the world, the Pacific, and then in Florida. So Benjamin Green, he was an airman and later a pharmacist. He produced what was called Red Vet Pet, or Red Veterinary Petroleum. And he created this for the U.S. military, and what it was a very early version of sunscreen. And so they would use this stuff, and it would keep the sun from getting so sunburned each day. And of course, as he started to make this, and he realized he had something going, he knew that he needed to perfect this a little bit better. So when Mr. Green got out of the military, he began to work on his homemade sunscreen. And he actually worked on a substance that improved it. He added cocoa butter and coconut oil to the mixture. And what he created named him the father of Coppertone Suntan Cream. That's right. The inventor of Coppertone and the Coppertone baby, Mr. Green, was from Florida. The sales of Coppertone immediately took off, but they absolutely skyrocketed in the 1950s when the Coppertone little girl was added. And of course, they continue to improve their product. They perfected the sunscreen and make it waterproof, higher SPFs, longer lasting, and many other things that we use today to protect ourselves from the sun. But thank you, Mr. Green, for inventing sunscreen in the Sunshine State. I, for one, personally would love to thank this man because let me tell you, I get burnt from the sun just streaming in the window some days. I mean, of course, as you know, living in Florida or even visiting Florida for a long time, the sun can be... it can be pretty bad down here, you know. I have many a times had my car window rolled down, not thinking about it, and walked away with a very interesting tan from just driving down the road. And it's the things you don't think about. So, but thank you to Mr. Green for sunscreen. I, for one, cannot thank you enough. The next thing Florida invented is actually a pretty well-known ritual that pretty much everybody who's listening has probably participated in one way or another. And I'm talking about spring break. That's right, the idea of spring break actually began in Florida. I don't know about you guys, but that's not really surprising to me. Is it surprising to you guys? It started in 1938. 1938 was the first year that spring break became a thing. College swimmers were invited to come to Florida on their break to swim in an Olympic-sized pool in Fort Lauderdale. It was brand new. They wanted them to try it out. And seeing as how the kids were on academic break and they needed somewhere to go to continue to practice because the team was from, I believe it was New Jersey, they came to Florida. It's warm in March and April, so why not? And of course, as this study break turned into a beach break and spring break became a thing, it was formed in Florida. And it actually caught on. The idea to take college swim teams to Florida to use sunny and warm pools to continue training when school gave the students a break caught on. Year after year, more teams began to come down to Florida to use the different pools, and then it just became an annual tradition for swimmers nationwide to go to Florida, and then it just became a tradition for anybody on spring break to go to Florida. Of course, we know that it became a very popular destination for spring break for college kids nationwide, also some high school kids. And spring break has become a tradition to have a week off somewhere between March and April, and Florida is still your go-to destination. Daytona, Panama City, Miami, and Clearwater top the places usually, but, people flock to the Sunshine State no matter what part to enjoy the beaches, the theme parks, and just to relax for that week before you have to go back and do the worst part of the semester. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't know that I'm excited that Florida did this one, especially when I've lived in the heavy spring break areas. It's all fun and games till they leave and you've got trash, more crime, and way too many Florida man stories to count. I mean, everybody becomes a Florida man when they're in Florida, so I don't know that I'm excited that Florida can actually claim that one. The next one, though, again, should not be a surprise. Florida is home to oranges and orange juice, so it's not surprising that Florida would come up with concentrated orange juice. I mean, orange juice is a well-known Florida treat. I mean, people stop at that Welcome Center on the Florida line just to get a free glass of orange juice when they come into the Sunshine State. I mean, we're known for it. We're known for our oranges and any kind of orange product. I mean, anything pretty much orange is Florida related. But orange juice has a short shelf life. You open it, air gets to it, you don't keep it cold. Many things can go wrong. Concentrated orange juice was actually the idea of C.D. Atkins. The product was originally created at the University of Florida's Citrus Research and Education Center. By the way, I feel like that is just such a Florida thing to have, a whole division related to citrus. It's definitely a Florida thing. But orange juice was a commodity at that point. People wanted it all over the U.S. But, of course, trying to get fresh orange juice all over the U.S. could be a problem for the reasons I said. Keeping it cold, keeping it from going bad, don't letting it spoil, pasteurizing it. I mean, there's many things that people had to jump through just to get orange juice. So Mr. Atkins came up with a way to pasteurize and filter the orange juice before evaporating the water to create a concentrate. He made it where you just add water and reconstitute it, and you have a version of fresh orange juice anywhere in the world. He was even credited with helping the military during World War II, as the servicemen and women were actually having trouble getting certain nutrients until this concentrated orange juice became a thing. And I guess those are the things you take for granted. But I think it's very cool that concentrated orange juice came from Florida. It shouldn't be a surprise. It should not be a surprise at all. But just imagine a world without it. There'd be no Tang or I think Sunny D, an orange. It's an orange flavored product. I don't think it has any juice in it. But just, things like that. You'd have to go just to go out to Florida just to have your orange juice. Now, one of the main inventions that came out of Florida, everybody in the world is thankful for this. Air conditioning. Someone in Florida invented air conditioning, and I know I'm not the only one thankful for this. I can also say I'm not surprised it came from Florida, and anybody who has lived, visited, or been to the state between March to October, November, you can understand this. Could you imagine living here without air conditioning? And then people used to do that. I mean, I guess, global warming is a thing now, and the world's getting hotter, but good Lord, Florida's always been hot. Could you imagine living in the hot and humid, especially after a hurricane, without air conditioning? Oh, I for one could not. Actually, I've done it. No, that's a lie. I've done it. Anybody who's lived through a hurricane in Florida the days after has lived without air conditioning in Florida, and it's horrible. And it makes you even more thankful for this invention that came out of Florida. John Gorey was actually the man who figured out air conditioning. He was treating yellow fever patients and he needed to find a way to cool them down. He was working in a hospital in 1842 in Apalachicola, and he worked on his invention. He used a compressor that helped to create the ice, and then he blew the cool air from the ice that was created onto his patients in the hospital. Unfortunately, his first invention, he could only do it for a little bit at a time and in one room. His main goal of using his ice cold creating machine was to eventually be able to regulate temperatures in buildings, the whole building, not just one room, not just a section of the room, but the whole building, and even centralized air conditioning that could cool entire cities. He was close to the building one. He obviously knew that was going to happen, and it eventually did happen. Gorey actually went on to patent his machine and his ideas in the 1950s. Unfortunately, bad luck happened, and the man who was his main financial backer unfortunately died before he could see his dreams come to fruition. Gorey eventually went on to die penniless, trying to put all his money into making these dreams happen. Nonetheless, though, because of Mr. Gorey's desire to be cooler on hot summer days and take care of patients to make them feel better in their worst moments, we now have air conditioning today. And I am so grateful for it. Another thing that came out of Florida, and I'm not going to lie to you, I did not know this until about a couple years ago. This one surprised me. So when you think of chicken and chicken wings, where do you think of? You think of Buffalo Wild Wings. You think of, Wingstop. I'm not going to lie to you, I always thought of Hooters because there were so many Hooters around where I grew up. And did you know that Hooters was first founded in Clearwater, Florida? I didn't. I'm not going to lie to you. I only learned that about a couple years ago. Hooters Incorporated was actually founded in Clearwater on April 1st in 1983 by 6 businessmen. They actually chose the date as an April Fool's joke to themselves because they did not think that their product was actually going to succeed. They had no restaurant experience and they just wanted a place they couldn't get kicked out of. So what'd they do? They opened their own. No idea what they were doing, but they knew they were going to make a restaurant. The first Hooters was actually built from the site of a former rundown nightclub, and it was purchased at an extraordinarily low price because all the businesses in that same building had failed so many times before. There were a number of businesses before them in this spot that had just never made it. In fact, they knew this, and they even built a small graveyard by the front door of their Hooters for each business that had come and gone before them. Now, the first restaurant officially opened its doors on October 4th, 1983, and the original location was decorated with memorabilia from Waverly, Iowa, which was the hometown of some of the original 6 founders. Joke was on them. The business not only took off, but now it's a global business. It is globally known. The original Hooter actually still stands, and in fact, I have been to it. That's actually when I figured out that it was the original. Unfortunately, the original Hooters is kind of inconspicuous. It sits off of Gulf to Bay, just kind of right over the bridge and surrounded by random businesses. And I think, Pete and Shorty's is next door to it. And, it's really inconspicuous. You never have any idea that was the first original Hooters. But it was. It's not as nice as the other Hooters on Clearwater Beach or even the one in Johns Pass with the ginormous chicken wing. But it's fun. It was really cool to go see where it started. They've got some really cool memorabilia in there. The wings are just as good. I, for one, I actually thought it was great. We met some friends there, and it was a really cool night. But yeah, Hooters, of all places, was founded in Clearwater, Florida. And of course, Florida's home to a lot of other useful inventions. Most of them are by people who just needed a little more than whatever product they were trying to use was going to give them. One of those products that was invented in Florida, and I found this really, really strange, was Bondo. And some of you have probably never heard of Bondo and are probably super confused as to what I'm talking about right now. Bondo is a polyester putty product originally sold as an automotive body filler. Today it's used for household, automotive, and marine repairs. The putty is even used by sculptors as it's very pliable. Bondo was invented by a World War II veteran and an automotive repair shop owner out of Miami, Florida. The veteran's name was Robert Milton. He created the two-part mix, which was a resin with a hardener that consisted of talc and plastic, as he was trying to find a new way to work on cars. He created this in 1955. Milton had seen repairs done on automotive panels in the car industry, especially the car industry changed after World War II. The panels became thinner, lighter, easier to mess with, but also easier to warp. So you couldn't solder pieces on to fix them, as they weren't that heavy metal that cars used to be prior to the war. So what did he do? He created the lead-free alternative as an easier way to fix cars, make it look nicer, and easier and faster to use. Florida is home to a lot of inventors that have actually really changed how people live, eat, play, and you get longer use out of their everyday items. The Sunshine State is a great place to live, work, and apparently serves as an inspiration to come up with new ideas and make life better for everyone else. I know that there are many more inventions that I didn't mention. One being key lime pie. In fact, I did a whole episode on key lime pie. It's amazing. Go to Kermit's in Key West. You're not going to be disappointed. If you can't get to Kermit's, go to Publix. It's just as good. Gatorade. Gatorade was actually invented in Florida. I am actually probably going to do a whole episode on Gatorade, as there is a little bit of myth behind the invention of Gatorade. So that'll be a whole other podcast. And then, namely, a couple other restaurants that you've heard of that were invented in Florida and are still going strong today. But of course, those are going to be future episodes. So don't yell at the podcast that I forgot something. I know that there are more, and we're going to hear about them soon enough. I do hope that everybody's had a great June. It's been a fun month. It's also Happy Pride Month, guys. I know a lot of my friends are celebrating the month, and I support each and every one of you. I don't know the struggles you go through, but I've seen and heard from friends and witnessed, that people go through these things, and I want you to know that I'm happy each and every one of you are here and you make the world a better place. So thank you. Like I said, I can't imagine what you deal with, including the Florida man that we're going to talk about today. Today's Florida man, to me, deserves the title of asshole, not Florida man, but this Florida man was arrested for trying to cut the gay out of his brother. Man in Miami was arrested for multiple charges for attacking his brother with a large kitchen knife because he wanted to cut the gay out of him. Yes, the brother survived. I know that there are a lot of people out there who may not support the LGBTQ community, but trying to hurt them is not the answer. Each and every person has a value and deserves to be here, and I am thankful for each and every one of you. So, Happy Pride Month. I hope it's been amazing so far. If you've gone to parades, I hope that you've enjoyed them. Please tag that Florida feeling. If you're in Florida going to a parade, I would love, love, love to see them. I hope that everybody has a great week. Don't forget to wear your sunscreen, now that you know it's invented in Florida. Drink lots of water, because my gosh, it is hot out there, you guys, and Florida is just getting warmed up, so it is just going to get worse. There is a tropical storm supposedly out in the Atlantic. Couldn't even get through the first month of hurricane season before this crap started. So keep an eye on the weather. And as always, guys, that's your daily dose of sunshine.